This is the Sattler Files.
Welcome back. This is the Sports Files on the Sattler Files, and we're joined now by Adrian Barich, expert Channel 7 commentator. How are you, Barra?
Tim, all the best, better for speaking to you, buddy. How are you?
Good, mate. Good, mate. Look, we've got a lot to talk about. There's Olympics, there's footy, but you know what? We've got the Olympics, and you'd think that'd be the talk of the town, but what's going on with Peter Sumich, mate? What's the talk there?
All week I've tried to get to the bottom of it. I tried with Adam Simpson on Monday night on 7, and then with Ross Lyons last night. Got no answers. All I know at this stage, according to Adam Simpson at the Eagles, he's not going there in the short term, and he certainly won't be helping them during the finals. And I don't think there's any sort of issue between the guys, but I'd love to see someone back at the West Coast Eagles. Imagine the ideas he could bring from Ross Lyon and experience. And he coached in the 05 and 06 with Woosha when the Eagles, went back-to-back in grand finals. So plenty of experience. But then at Fremantle, what happened? I don't know. He got demoted at the beginning of the season from a full-blown assistant coach, the right-hand man, basically, to Ross, back into a development role. I'm not sure if he wanted to do that or whether the club wanted him to. And after the year they've had, maybe he's decided, well, that's enough. I've done whatever I can. It's time for me to move on. But it is a bit unusual. You'd have to say that he didn't finish out the season. So there's obviously something going on behind the scenes. And I'd say there'd be a confidentiality clause in his payout from Fremantle, so he probably won't say anything for a while. But down the track, Tim, it'll all come out, and I'll jump on and tell you about it.
Thank you. Well, he won't be the first to go, will he? There'll be a couple of more assistant coaches that will jump off the wagon down there, or maybe pushed Barra.
Yeah, it's strange. They've lost under Ross. He seems to burn through them a bit. He must be a pretty hard taskmaster. And there's a couple of really good people that have gone too, that have left the club, including Simon Lloyd, who's now at Geelong, and the former captain of the Sydney Swans,
Brett Kirk.
Back there. Yeah, Brett Kirk. He was a ripper bloke. He's gone back. So, yeah, it's a strange one. But I guess in footy, all people care about is results. And this year, it hasn't gone that well for Fremantle, so they'd want to bounce back. We did an interview on 7 that's appearing tonight on 7 with Nat Fyfe, and he's been as open as to say that if he can't see success in the future and he can't see they're on the right track, he's a free agent at the end of next year. Well, he'd be in his interest then to have a look around and to see what's available, because he's obviously in footy to have success, and you don't often get blokes like Matthew Pavlich who hang around forever and do the right thing and are one-club players and go through the tough times, hoping for the good times. Mostly nowadays, everyone wants success. So he's sort of laid it out for them, and I'm sure they'll bounce back, but it's interesting that he's prepared to speak about it, yeah.
Can't wait to see that on 7 News tonight. Now, getting back to Suma, surely he couldn't apply for the Brisbane job, could he? I mean, he's been knocked back several times. I mean, you've got to have pretty thick skin, don't you?
Oh, yeah. Well, he missed out. I think he had a crack at the Bulldogs job, and then obviously the West Coast Eagles was the big one. He thought he was a Monty, being a club legend, but
yes,
apparently Adam Simpson's interview was incredibly impressive, and yeah, it was a big call for them to turn their back on Summer. But as it turned out, they made the grand final, so you think at this stage they probably made the right decision. But yeah, that would have been hard to swallow. But you're right. He hasn't done anything bad enough to go to Brisbane, has he? Imagine that job. You wouldn't want to be the next one up, Tim. And I reckon you'd want to let some poor bugger go in there, get belted around for a couple more years, and then when it starts getting on the rise, you'd jump in then. Yeah. So
yeah,
I reckon he's either going to be back at West Coast,
good,
idolised, or he'll coach Claremont, perhaps. In the waffle.
Yeah, I've heard that rumour. And Barra, a retirement yesterday of one of the great clubmen at West Coast Eagles, Xavier Ellis, the X-Man.
Yeah, the X-Man, that's right. He loves being called X too. Xavier Ellis, he with an X. It's funny, one of the best clubmen, you're right, but he's only been there 3 seasons.
Yes.
So it's funny how some people can, you're being drawn to them straight away. He is a great fellow. He played 100-odd games, 80-odd for Hawthorn, including a premiership. He snuck into the flag there, which was good. But just, one of those guys that just gets, injured all the time and really struggled this year. Only played 2 games, and after pulling his calf again to East Perth against Pure Thunder, he thought, you know what, that's it. So,
well, they obviously rate him. I mean, rumours going around they're going to keep him on the coaching panel, so he's obviously got some great people skills.
Yeah, that's true. It's a tricky one too, especially if swimmers around, whether because there seems to be a lot of blokes available. So we'll see what happens. But he'd be in a lesser role, wouldn't he, if he's just starting out? Maybe he'll coach East Perth. Who knows?
Well, there's going to be some movement in the coaching ranks come the off season. Mate, move on to the Olympics. If you were Mac Horton, would you have said what he did?
Well, did you have a look at it? I mean, when I saw what he exactly said, he wasn't exactly. He didn't come out swinging, did he? He sort of was reasonably subtle. Probably it just belies what's going on behind the scenes, because you've seen even Phelps has backed him in. The French, there's some other swimmers have come out and then backed him up now, because they're obviously tired of the penalties that are being applied and not being applied. And we had all the Russian debacle. We had the man himself, Sun Yang, he only got a 3-month suspension which should have been 2 years, but they believed him when he said it was for some sort of medical condition, which doesn't seem to apply to anyone. It didn't even apply to warning. You can't get away with that sort of thing. So somehow the Chinese accepted that and just copped 3 months, and it coincided with him being able to go to the next Olympics and win a few more gold medals. So I'll tell you, I know one thing, on Sunday in that 1500, it's going to be massive. Mac up against his arch nemesis. Oh, geez, that's going to be sensational.
Yeah, I think
his grandparents live in Perth, and they reckon he's one of the greatest blokes of all time. I guess they would say that, but he does seem that way, and he reminds me a bit of John Worsfold out of the pool. He's got those glasses. He looks like, what was Superman's alter ego? Clark Kent. He looks like Clark Kent. Then he takes the glasses off, and suddenly he's Superman. And
bit of white line fever.
For Sunday. Yeah, I'd love to see him.
And Barrett, the swimming? How do you think we've gone? Are we performing as expected? Are we just below par, or we had a great opening night? We've just dropped off a little bit, I feel.
Yeah, it feels like that, doesn't it? Good
yep.
call. Our women are doing okay. We've got another bronze today. Emma McEwen got another bronze, so she's gone from being the world champ to a bronze medal, but at least she overcame her nerves and did that. I think we've still got a couple of big races to come and a couple of big relays, so hopefully we'll get a couple. We only picked up one gold medal in London in the pool, so we've certainly eclipsed that.
Yeah.
So mind you, that was one of our worst ever performances, but I think you're right. It stalled a little bit. I know Basil's pretty excited. Basil's Empress. He can't wait for the Aussies to win a few more, because he gets to hear his voice a bit more, and all the rest of it replayed on the news.
Barra, I've got a scoop for you. If you want to tell Basil to release it on Channel 7 at some stage in the coming days, if you've watched Michael Phelps, he's got these circular sort of bruises on his body. Have you seen those around his shoulders and neck? You know what that is?
I actually do. Being a footy person, I know what those are, but tell our listeners.
It's cupping, isn't it?
It's cupping, yeah, these sort of vacuums that they... I think it started out with the candles and that sort of thing, when they create a vacuum on your back with the Chinese, and now moved on to where it's electronic. And Phelps, he swears by it. And I tell you what, if you've won 21 gold medals, I'll tell you what, the next time I get a sore shoulder, I'm going to be trying it for sure.
Well, he's won 21 gold medals, mate, and he can smoke pot and go for DUI. What a great life.
I know. Well, they booted him. I mean, how's their form? Or how's his form? They booted him out of the World Championships. The Americans wouldn't let him go because he went DUI. And he's come back still over 30. I think he's 31.
Yep.
The first man ever to win a gold medal over the age of 30 in swimming. That guy is a freak.
He is a freak. I watched him this morning, and what he did today was just, obviously world class. Won gold medal, jumped back in the pool 20 minutes later, and anchored the relay going away.
I know. Isn't it? There'd be countries that haven't won 21 gold medals over the history of the Olympic Games, and he's won 21 on his own. So,
well, I think I heard that. That was one of Basil's great sidelights. He said, I think Austria and can't remember another country. Austria and Argentina. He's won more medals than those in the history of their Olympic involvement.
Is that right? So
it's
Baz
amazing.
Started at the A's, and that's as far as he got. He copped a couple there and said, I'll use that. Beautiful.
And the teams, Barra, obviously the girls in the rugby was great. The basketballers are going well. The two hockey teams are a bit dicey.
Yeah, well spotted. Yeah, they both lost both opening games, and basically you have to almost win every game from now on to make the cutthroat quarterfinals. So I think the Hockey Roos are on tonight, and they've got India.
Ooh.
which obviously it's one of their chosen sports, hockey, and they've got 1 billion people. So that's going to be a big game for the Hockeyroos. And yeah, it's strange, isn't it? Especially for the Kookaburras. They lost to Belgium.
Yes.
They haven't lost to Belgium in 3 years, and they were the red hot favourites to win the gold because they're the number one team. The Germans are the world champs, but the Aussies were going in as favourites, and suddenly they've dropped too. So there's something going on there with hockey, and I reckon Rick Charlesworth's about 2 minutes away from coming out saying something outrageous about what's happened. So we'll see what happens tonight. If the Hockeyroos go down, we might see Rick on 7 News tomorrow.
I can imagine. Now, just to close, Barrow, 6PR, Peter Bell has made the great move from commercial radio to the ABC radio for the hottest shot next year, breakfast radio. You're on 94.5, is that correct?
I do. I just do Saturday morning sports show. Yeah. So,
no desire to jump into the hot seat, mate, and do your own radio show?
No. Well, I did. I did do breakfast actually at obviously at 6PR with Basil, and then I did a bit with Howard. In fact, that's why I'm quite friendly with him.
Yep.
And just for getting up early is just way too hard. I don't know how Basil does it.
Well, we'll try to work out. Basil must work about a 16-hour day.
Yeah, he's freakish. Well, he goes. I guess he gets up at 4, heads into the station at 5. Then he would finish it in say 9 or 10 o'clock there. Then he goes home. Probably comes into 7 about 1 o'clock. Kicks on to about 7, and then on weekends he's calling the footy. Yeah, so I hope he's paying off his mortgage and all the rest of it. I'm sure he is.
No, I think making hay while the sun shines, mate. Making hay.
Yeah, he wants to retire by the time he's 50. Yeah. It'd be interesting to see Belly, though, on the ABC. I reckon it might suit him. He's got a good sense of humour, the Belly, and he's a bit quirky. Yeah, look,
he polarises people. I speak to people and they say they love him or they don't. But I think he's growing on people. And as I said, I think his quirky sense of humour, following on from Ian Cameron, could just fill that void quite nicely.
Yeah, I reckon. Yeah, he's a mini camo.
Yeah.
But mate, there's a 12 till 3 slot there at 6PR. If you want to slot in there as well, buddy, I can just see it.
Thanks, Barrett. I appreciate it. We'll talk to you next time.
Good on you, Tim.
Thanks, buddy. Bye.
This is the Sattler.
I'm John Hughes. I'm very proud of the tremendous amount of repeat and referral business that we do in Victoria Park, and this is because I've personally trained all of my salespeople to be non-pushy, friendly and professional, and to always provide first class before and after sales service. I jealously safeguard my reputation, so if you want the best car buying experience in WA, choose your dealer before you choose your car. That's John Hughes in Victoria Park. DL 6061.
DevRite Homes, when you're looking for attention to detail and a uniquely designed home to suit all your needs. At DevRite Homes, we only build a limited number of homes per year, so we can truly focus on what you want out of a prestige home builder. We've continually won awards for excellence, with a record number of wins last year and the proud winner of the Australian Townhouse Villa of the Year. While we love building homes to suit each client, we pride ourselves on designing homes that take into account the special safety needs of some of our clients. If you have a dream, we can make it come true. Talk to Jay Mangano and find out more about DevRite Homes at www.devrite.com.au.
This is the Sattler Files.
Welcome back. This is the Sports Files on the Sattler Files. I'm now joined by my great mate Ric Gloede. How are you, Ric?
Good, thank you, buddy. How you doing? Good to talk to you again.
Yeah, good. I am excellent. But I will say one thing. There's a bit of a stir going around in West Australian football circles, and you being very close to the commission, you may be able to help me. Is Peter Sumich headed to Claremont, Ric?
I have no idea, mate. I haven't spoken to him. Peter will probably keep to himself. If I was going to take a wild guess, I'd suggest maybe Essendon.
Ooh. With his great mate Woosha. That's an interesting one.
Nothing to justify that at all, mate.
Just a thought process.
Yeah, I haven't spoken to Peter.
And what's going on in the waffle, Ric?
Well, it's a pretty good competition, mate. Top 6 are all in there, and it changes from week to week. But getting on towards the final, it looks like South and Subi are right up the top there. But depends what happens to the two partnership clubs as things get closer to the end, I guess. And of course, I'm a little bit keen to see the mighty Bulldogs go well, but Subi's going to be a very hard team to toss.
Yeah, look, Subi, they're just the consummate professionals, aren't they? They get the job done week in, week out. They had that interesting trial game on the Thursday night a couple of weeks back. How did the Commission rate that, do you think? I mean, it wasn't attended well in a gate roll-up, but I think it rated quite well.
There was about 1,500 people there, and it was a really wet night. I went, and it was a joint agreement between South Subi and Channel 7, just to see how it would go as a television broadcast, and it outrated the footy show.
Wow.
Pretty good result, really.
Yeah. Although you don't have to be a good show to beat the footy show these days, Rick. I mean, that's down on its knees, isn't it?
Just about reached its use-by date, I think, mate.
Yeah. So, obviously, with your involvement down at South, is there any young draft prospects coming through there? I mean, that's the other rumour about Suma, of course, that he just wants to take 12 to 18 months off football and watch his young boy, I think he's Zane Zumic, and just to see, I think he's in the Colts, and he just wants to smell the roses and get back like a normal parent and go and watch his son play footy on the weekends. Any thoughts on the young Zane?
If Peter said that, he'll probably do it, and there's probably room for him to go back and help out in the Zumic corporation, mate,
yes,
because his dad and Buddy and a few of the other Zumic boys, Jack, are all they're all getting on in age a bit, and they probably need a bit of use going back into management there, and he's had a lot of experience in the company, so Pete might be just going back into business.
Yeah.
Haven't seen his son, but he's got good bloodlines. Jack was a very good player and also a Rhodes Scholar, and represented Australia in the decathlon.
Oh, wow. Didn't know that.
Of course, Pete is the only left-footer who has scored over 100 goals in the AFL competition in the season. So he had his abilities too.
Oh, very good. And just on the waffle, Claremont, our great friend Peter Waterman, her son debuted young Jake for Claremont 2 weeks ago and kicked 5 first up in his first ever league waffle game. Not a bad debut.
Yeah, they've both got talent. Unfortunately, his older brother has had glandular fever, and it's really put him back. And we're hoping that he'll get a full pre-season into him and see how he goes next year, because apparently he's also an outstanding young talent, mate.
Yeah, Jake's, look, I noticed he played in the state 18s and whatever. He's just, for my mind, an inch or two short for a key forward. I think he's, a flanker, sort of maybe a bit in the Jack Darling mould, and if he gets his tank up over the years, but it looks pretty certain the Eagles are going to pick him up under the father-son rule.
I'd say that'd be pretty much a certainty, mate. I mean, he's really showing his colours. He's been at the top level in the juniors. Why would you let him go somewhere else when he's going to be treated so well? He's in the bosom of his family at home, and I hope they do pick him up. I think the biggest problem that the Dockers have had is not really giving the local talent the consideration that should have been given when you consider the people that have gone interstate and that sort of thing that are now stars, that they could have picked up Hogan and these guys, Oh,
well, they had the chance to get the McGovern boys also.
Who's that?
The McGovern boys.
Oh, yeah, of course.
And, the one at Adelaide, he's growing along nice this season. He's could be as good as Mitch McGovern.
His brother's done in his second season. It'll be terrific. The older brother was great on the weekend. I thought he was he's the best mark in the competition, mate. Yeah, no, he's very good. And Rick, the Olympics, anything been catching your fancy? Well, I've really enjoyed them so far. Our results started off like an express train, but they've slowed down now. I mean, the first 4 golds, the one from Catherine Skinner in the shooting, and Mac the Knife taking on Sun Yang in the 400 metres, and then in the press, that stirred things up a little, and it's probably stirred the rest of the clean athletes up. They're all backing him and getting straight into it. It was interesting to see some of the Chinese Twitters. One of them said, for example, how would an Australian know they're only living on the edge of civilization?
Yeah, that'd be the Chinese. Look,
then Sun Yang got up the next night and won the 200 metres in gold in the 200 metres. So it's going to be interesting to see how they turn themselves out in the 1500 metres.
Oh, it sets itself up beautifully and I think the 1500 closes the games for the swimming. Yeah. But we come home. I mean, we started very well with the 2 golds on the first night. We got another bronze today. With the young McEwen girl, but we've got the Campbell sisters to come, and they could finish 1-2. Wouldn't it be great if they dead heated?
Chalmers is really turning into a star, isn't he?
Yep. We've got McAvoy to come in the 100, and then of course Mac. So we could get
this morning. But I thought that the other Aussie boy, the favourite, I think he had a lot up his sleeve. I think the fellow snuck down the outside to take him on this morning.
Yep.
And he said after on the interview that he'd done what he needed to do to get in the final, and he said, I couldn't see the bloke. So I'd say there's a bit left in his tank.
Yep.
And he didn't swim in the 200 metres today in the 200 metre relay.
Yep.
But there's a couple of other things, Colbert. The girls in the rugby sevens, first sports team to win a gold for Australia since 2004, and it's an inaugural game, so they're going to go down in history. And, Catherine Skinner was an outstanding goal. But, geez, we've had some disappointments, haven't we? We've had failures in the swimming, failures in the equestrian. The hockey people have been very disappointing. So it's gone down the drain a little bit in the last couple of days. But as you say, there's a lot to come. The basketballers are going well. Our tennis people are all out of it, I think.
Yeah,
now.
Sam Stosur got knocked out today.
Yes, who's out? The Joker and Serena both out. So that's interesting, isn't it?
Well, as I said, we'll have a strong finish in the pool for the Aussies, and then we go straight to track and field next week. And of course, that's a Monty to really get the ratings up for Channel 7. But what I'm looking forward to again is the great Usain Bolt if he can win the double in the 100 and 200. And from an Australian point of view, Jared Talent, there's no Russian anymore, so you'd back him to go back to back for Olympic gold in the 50k walk, wouldn't you?
You'd think so. The other two that have got good goal chances are the broad jumpers, mate.
Fabrice Labarrière
with their distances. But you know something? When you look at the swimming, and I've noticed that over the years, we go into the swimming with all the best times in the world in the year of the Olympics. And when we get to the finals, the Yanks come along and knock us off. I'm not sure they're not taking things a little bit more cleverly than we are in terms of their warm-ups towards the Olympic Games, because that's when it really counts. And today, I mean, what about Phelps? 20 gold medals. Terrific. What a sportsman.
Look, I think you're onto something there, Rick. The Americans tend to peak a little bit later with their trials, whereas we go about 6 or 7 weeks or maybe even 8 weeks out. And then they taper and try and come up again, whereas the Yanks sort of have their nationals quite late, pick their team, and then they sort of keep them on that onward and upward trajectory.
I think they also maybe start to believe their own propaganda a bit, unintentionally, but I think that probably happens. You know? Where they say, I'm a second faster than this dude, and half a second faster, I'm going to win. And they don't. I just think it just puts them back that little bit. Yeah.
And of course, last year we had a very good result.
To be able to do what half of them do, really.
Yeah, wouldn't we all? The thing is that it's very interesting you should say that, Rick, because last year at the World Championships in a non-Olympic year, we did very well in the pool and won a lot of gold medals, and the Americans weren't as dominant then. But as you say, they don't really need to dominate at the World Championships. The year later is the Olympics. That's where it's like a grand final, isn't it?
That's when
they perform on the big stage.
Yep.
And final word on AFL, Rick.
The best example of that is the young girl. What was her name now?
Emily Seaborn.
Her boyfriend.
Emily Seaborn.
And Emily Seaborn. I really felt so sorry for them because they looked like they were the top in the world, didn't they?
Yep.
Well,
they were last year. See, they both won.
Got a medal.
Yeah, they both won last year at the World Championships, which is
That's right.
adds case. Now, Rick, just to finish up, the AFL's so open. Right now, 8 weeks out for the grand final, who would you pick for the two teams in the grand final?
Well, I've seen them all, of course. Sydney, to me, looked terrific, but then so does Adelaide. And I think that you'll find that if this season is the same as any others, West Coast is going to have a little bit of an easier run than we think going into those finals, because I think the other teams will be putting a lot of legs in their team. And they'll be coming out just about ready to start, easing off for the finals. And Eagles desperately need to win at least one or two of the next ones to get in the 4. If they get in the 4, Nick that fit and played a few games, they're going to be a rough chance. But, gee, Sydney's midfield and Adelaide, their forward line looks terrific, doesn't it?
Well, it's the most open since 97, 98, I reckon. But right now, I would say you're probably right. Sydney and Adelaide for the grand final. Hawthorn just dropping that game last week because they've got a poor, even though they had that 9 in a row winning streak, their percentage is quite poor. If they drop another game, they come back to the pack. So really that Hawthorn West Coast game in Perth in 10 days' time, that becomes a mini final.
Yeah.
So.
All right. Well, who are you tipping in the end result?
To actually win the flag, for my late father, Brian Lee, I would have to say Sydney Swans to win the flag.
Good on you. I don't think you're far off, mate. I'm really impressed with young Kennedy. I reckon that's the best year he's had. And
yes.
This young kid they dropped him a couple of weeks ago, Feeney.
Isaac Heaney, he's a gun.
He is a real gun. He's a terrific young player. And Mitchell's come right on, and Parker, and they just keep, their midfield just keeps winning the ball. They're terrific.
I'll tell you what, next year's the team to beat next year, I'm putting it on the line right now, Rick, on the 10th of August 2016. The team to beat for next year's premiership will be the Western Bulldogs. They get their stars back. Stuart Crameri comes back off that suspension. And what they've done this year with injuries has been nothing short of phenomenal.
Let's hope so, mate. I mean, I feel so sorry for them and the Saints, because the Saints have won one, and I think the Bulldogs have only won one, haven't they?
Yep. Only one each.
And, I mean, even once you look at the Eagles, they've at least won 3 in the short time they've been in there, but the Saints and the Bulldogs, and even before Sydney beat the Eagles, you had to go back to before the Second World War.
Yes.
Didn't you get a Sydney victory?
Yes, I know. So my late
Melbourne.
father told me. Okay, Rick, great to speak to you again, and we'll chat next week.
Great to have you back on the air. It's terrific.
Thanks, Rick. Cheers, mate. Bye.
All right.
So that was Ric Gloede, and Rick's very insightful sports thoughtsman around. I don't know if that's a word, actually, Desmond, thoughtsman, but I'll just invent my own word. And also great to speak to Adrian Barich for Channel 7, and pleased to see that he knew what the marks were on Michael Phelps's body, which was what we call cupping, and we'll see if Barra's going to get that down the line for us to see if Basil can sneak that into the commentary that he provides. But Basil's been very professional. I've been really impressed with him, Despeen. He's obviously his great mentor is Dennis Cometti, and he does the understated style of Dennis. He doesn't do the Norman Mays, which is good. No gold for Australia. Obviously, he's done his work, which Dennis always would have taught him. Any good sports journalist is all about research, and he knows his numbers. He knows his people. The Hungarians won today, and he knows exactly what they're doing. Now, obviously, there's research analysts and whatever which are doing the work for him, but I thought he's presented extremely well. Very professional. Gian Rooney, now she was a bit shaky a couple of times. But Basil sort of got her through. And it's all tribute to the 7 Network. I watched yesterday, watched this morning, and Nate Templeton got an interview with Michael Phelps, which is quite good. So that's good to see that the 7 Network is holding its place over there, because Phelps, if you saw some of his after race antics, the media throng, the photographers were 200 deep. So the fact that Nate Templeton can grab him for a little bit of a chat on 7 was good. I like those emotional interviews as they come out of the pool, Despeen, because they're huffing and puffing. They're a bit short of breath. One poor girl today, she finished 5th, and it was Alicia Coots. It was her 3rd Olympics. You could tell she was hurting. She wanted to medal. She thought she was going to medal. She finished 5th. Her husband was in the stands. Her mum was at the games, and she was giving a kiss out to mum on air, and tremendously emotional because they're spent, emotionally and physically. The lead up to what they do, and now the come down is if you don't win. I just hope the sports psychologists are there providing a helping hand. But all in all, interesting Olympics. A little bit worried about the security still. There's a lot going on that we're not actually hearing. Today they were talking. One bus was saying a sports journalist, a team bus or something, was saying that they got rocks thrown at them. But one lady on the bus said, "Let me tell you, that wasn't rocks. I could hear the retorted guns and whatever." So, we've got the closing ceremony coming up, and the other thing that the Kitty Chiller, the Australian chief de mission, is saying that as the athletes are finishing their competition now, A lot of them are hanging around for the closing ceremony and whatever, so they've got 10 days free. And the security aspect of them wanting to go out and party in Rio is becoming a very real problem. So they've got AFP on the ground. I think each group of athletes has a driver with them. So it won't be like partying in London and partying in Sydney. It'll be a very austere, I think, sort of celebration. There'll be, and the problem is they can't have them partying in the village because 50% of them still want to get on with their preparations. So interesting. I'd love to be a fly on the wall in some of those things that are going on at Rio. Disappointing that it has been there. I think the issues that they've had. We had the diving pool today turn green. Now, if my pool at home turns green, I don't let my kids swim in it. So imagine diving in, risk of ear infections, and so a bit of a litany of mistakes going on in Brazil. But anyhow, we'll see what happens. And next week, Despeen will be back to wrap up even more controversy, I'm sure, at the Olympics, and hopefully celebrate some Australian gold. That's been the Sports Files on the Sattler Files.
This is the Sattler Files.